Hi guys, and welcome to our next art tutorial. For this tutorial, it is for the 6th grade main project called Abstract Painting. And as I'll kind of explain in class, abstract is basically non-representational, using just shapes and colors to express what you're trying to mean. And that definition is very confusing for people. So the best way I would put in my words is, let's say if you had a feeling, but you need to express a feeling because there's no actual physical form for it, like acceptance. We'll use my word as acceptance. Acceptance means that you are included or invited into a group or wanting to be accepted into something. And it's really hard to express what that feeling looks like. So the reason that we're using emotions in this particular tutorial is to help us take something that's not exactly tangible and still show a representation of it. So best easy way to say it is we're using colors and shapes. So, and if you hear a little bell, that is the cat. Yes. So he might make an appearance like he normally does in most of my videos. So if we work with the same word I said earlier, acceptance. Yes, you. All right. In this particular part, what you're going to have to do is start out with a rough draft. And the only reason I want you to do a rough draft is because I think it's really hard for people to understand the concept of abstract. And so to do that, Salem. It's hard to be a cat mom and do tutorials. So acceptance. The actual definition of it is the action or process of being received as adequate or suitable, typically to be admitted into a group. That is the actual definition of acceptance, which is very long. And the reason whenever I give you a word that you pick out of my cauldron or get assigned, you have the definition attached to it to help you kind of figure out how to brainstorm and use context clues in how you want to start out. So with the definition as well, adequate, suitable, and being admitted into a group, I kind of have to think about colors and shapes. I think I'll start with shapes in this particular instance, just because I think it's a slightly easier route in this example. So if my word is acceptance, and I'm thinking about being admitted into a group, then maybe I would use shapes to represent myself and maybe others. And so in my particular rough draft idea, I would probably make myself a triangle. And maybe I'm going to use other shapes to show that I'm being admitted into a group. So maybe I show those as different shapes: circle, square, rectangle, whatever. And yeah, so maybe we would show an example like this. This is a rough draft of me showing shapes, kind of helping represent that. I'm in the center part, which is me being a triangle, and the other shapes representing other people. And the reason I have it at a circular motion is to show that I'm being accepted into a group. So it's really far-fetched thinking, but that works. Also, if you hear creaking stairs, that would be Clint trying to carefully come down the stairs during my tutorial. So that's one idea. Maybe for the second idea, I want to show, I'm trying to think of what would be best for this one. I still like the circle idea personally. Maybe I do circle inside a larger circle, which just makes me think of a really big donut. I don't know why I drew a donut, but it was where I thought about things. But it's abstract, so no one's going to argue it. It's your thoughts. So I'm going to bring the camera down and kind of explain the color process behind this. So let me just say. All right, so I have my 2 rough drafts on here, and at least I got the whole, hey, I brainstormed some shapes, and my idea concept was acceptance in a group. So that was my big thing, was group. And what I'm going to do now is think about colors, and probably what I'm going to do is stick with my favorite color representing me, which is purple. So I'm going to use my watercolors to help me with this really quickly instead of my acrylics like you'll be working with, which is fine. I'm going to still do my other rough draft with this. Now, when you do your rough draft, you're going to be using colored pencils, markers, that kind of things, just because it's a little bit faster for you to kind of brainstorm colors versus having to do with paint, and it's less messy. So that's kind of the reason why. But in this particular demo, I'm purposely using my paints. So let's see, if I want to show other colors to help represent me being accepted, maybe I'm going to use some like yellow and oranges. So possibly I'm going to use like yellow on the inside on this example, and I'm going to use a little bit of orange on the outer part. It doesn't have to make sense. This is, again, abstract, so you can pretty much get away with anything. So long as it makes sense to you, that's really all that matters. So I'm going to put this on a quick pause. I'm going to finish out the colors on the second one, let them dry, and that way you can kind of see what I'm thinking of. This doesn't mean it's my final form, but it at least helps me with my rough draft ideas. Okay, give me just a sec. All right, so it's not completely dry, but I did kind of finish out my rough draft on here. So on here, I have my 2 rough draft ideas, and I used watercolor to fill in the colors to help represent, ideally, my impression of acceptance into a group. And again, this is just a rough draft. You're going to start out with a rough draft first and come up with your plan before you just jump it into your project, because this is a 3-day project. First process, ideas, brainstorm, rough drafts. Second step is, once you figured out your rough drafts, you kind of have to decide which idea you like. And it's okay if you don't do exactly what you did on your rough draft into your next part, because if you want to change things, if you want to make things bigger, smaller, change your idea of colors, that's fine. It's not that big a deal, really. But the reason we do rough drafts is because, similar to your drawing project that we did back in Unit 1, you need to get the ideas out. And once you get your ideas out, then you're able to kind of start molding and kind of narrowing down certain details. Same process with this. So I actually kind of don't mind the donut idea personally. It kind of is fun. But when I get to that chance, I'm going to do, let's say, my final draft, whatever, maybe I would change a few things. Maybe I would change like the size of my circle donut, whatever you want to call it. Make it look more donut-like. Maybe it's a circle inside a circle. I don't know. I'm just playing with this. But the point of this exercise and project in general is to help you start thinking different. And abstract is definitely a way to think different, because it's really hard for people to understand abstract. And in my personal opinion, abstract is a really good gateway into saying personal interpretation, because nobody's really wrong, and you can't really make a mistake with abstract because it's abstract. So if I accidentally, let's say I do my final thing and I accidentally get like a splatter of green across this, no one's going to know that's a mistake unless I tell them. So if you happen to have a similar incident, don't say it was a mistake. Just pretend it was totally on purpose. No one will know the difference. So things I would say whenever you do your final one, because it's going to be on a different sheet. It's going to be a little bit bigger. I'm just doing everything on one, so it's easier to see everything at once. But I would ask that you think about your background color. I would say, if you're not happy with certain colors that you thought originally, try to come up with a different scenario. I'm using watercolors, so I'm not really like mixing anything. But obviously with you using acrylic, most likely for this project, you have that ability to mix up different colors like we did with the swatches and other things. So have some fun with this. It's okay if you get a headache and you're very confused, because everyone who does this does get confused. So you're doing fine. And as always, yeah, please ask me questions during class, in Schoology, on my email. Anybody can reach me at any point. Like, seriously, it's really ridiculous. But other than that, just take your time with this. Do not rush it. It's like a 2 to 3 day project. You could easily get this done, but I want you to understand the process of when you're coming up with a project instead of just, oh, I did it and I'm done. So, all right. Well, I hope this was helpful. If not, tell me. And I look forward to seeing y'all next time. Okay, bye.